Okay, so I just wanted to do a comparison video really. Well, this one's a bit less of a comparison video, probably a bit more of a overview, or just, you know, more trying to look at the Amiga game rather than compare it, because it's not really fair to compare it to the Saturn game that I got, because yeah, one's quite, I mean, the graphics are obviously more advanced in the one than the other, so it's not like I'm trying to compare two of the same games but on, you know, different formats, but just putting the Saturn game in there just to show you know, the different themes that are running through. I thought would be a pretty good idea. So obviously this is an Amiga game, it's Tin Toy Adventure, and the Saturn game that I've, like I said, I'm just putting in there just for just as a reference, because they've both got similar themes running through, which is obviously the toy theme, and that's Paparoko's Adventure, or Clockwork Knight as it's known here. I always say Paparoko's Adventure, that's I'm sure that's a Japanese name for it, but it's actually Clockwork Knight over here in the Europe and US anyway. Paparoko's Adventure is quite an unusual name anyway, so but yeah, I've just put it in just to show the themes that we're running through, because obviously, again, like I said, they've got the same themes, which is a toy theme. A really good thing that I heard someone say once about Clockwork Knight was, if Sega made a film based on toys and then made a game of that film, that's Clockwork Knight, which again you could say is like Toy Story. But Tin Toy has got the same theme, it's got that same toy, you know, like toy theme running through, and again you're in a house, and each level or each set of stages or whatever is meant to be different parts of the house, and obviously you fight bosses at the end of a set of stages, but the one thing I would say for Tin Toy Adventure is that the bosses are just plain and utter weird, whereas I'd say in Clockwork Knight they're not weird, they're just really good bosses, you know, really kind of well animated, really good boss fights. But in Tin Toy Adventure they're just plain old weird. They really are, they're just strange, even just the designs, and just strange. Actually it's been quite a few days since I played the game, but from what I can remember there was one where it was like a burger or a sandwich just bouncing around, and I basically had to fire the little stars or jump on the hamburger to get rid of the slices in between the sandwich, in between the bread, to kill the boss. I mean, that's just weird, that's just proper weird, you know. Yeah, so Tin Toy Adventure, it's actually a really good game. I've said this before, but when it comes to platform games, especially older ones, you know, retro ones, there really has to be something decent about them, something that grabs me, that holds my attention, because there's just so many forgettable platform games from, you know, the early to late 90s. So, you know, the game's really got to grab me and really got to be good and different, and, you know, just something that stands out for me personally anyway. And Tin Toy Adventure is definitely that game. One thing I'll say for the game, it's really hard. It is really hard. it's not an easy game whatsoever. It's one of those games you definitely have to know the levels for, and even when you know the levels, you'll be it's one of those games where you just edge yourself forward just a little bit at a time through each level, because if you try and do anything other than edge yourself forward a bit by bit, then you're just gonna, even though you know the level, you're still gonna lose a life or what have you. And it doesn't take much to deplete your energy. Actually, I'd say on that note that in Clockwork Knight, you can take 3 hits from an enemy and then you lose a life. It's the same for Tin Toy Adventure. You get 3 hits and then you lose your life. But in Tin Toy Adventure, it's a lot of the game's a lot harder. It's so much easier just to get hit by an enemy and lose a bit of your life. It's just that kind of game. So even though you know a level, you just inch your way forward just a little bit at a time, no matter how well you know a level. So it's really hard. In fact, it's so hard that I actually used some cheats, and they actually worked. Of course, I've tried Amiga cheats before and they never bloody work. I've never been able to get Amiga cheats to work before. So Tin Toy Adventure is the first Amiga game that I've actually got some Amiga cheats to work. And I had to do it just to get, just so I could get to later stages of or levels of the game for this video. Otherwise it wouldn't have showed off the game very well. I'd say in using the cheats though, because the cheats were only meant to be level select cheats, but they also gave me invincibility, which I didn't want, but that's what they gave me as well. And it kind of took away the fun of the game, because obviously the game's so bloody hard. You know, it's kind of rewarding when you actually make it to the next level. So even though it wasn't taking any enjoyment out of the game using a level select cheat and going up to different levels and what have you, but it did take the fun out of the game having invincibility. So if you're going to use a cheat, I'd say that it's nice to see the levels, but when you're invincible on a game that's just so damn hard, it's just, it just takes the rewards out of the game. Yeah, one thing I'll say for this game as well, the controls are quite loose. They're not very precise or direct at all, they're very loose. So I suppose that's one of the things that makes the game quite hard. And another thing as well, it's one of those games that you have to press up on the D-pad to jump, which is one of my pet hates really for platform games. Turrican had that where you had to press up to jump, but Turrican is actually a really, really good game. And like on Turrican 3, you could mess with the button layout, so you didn't have to have up for jump at all. So I suppose if a game does it well enough, it's alright. In Tin Toy Adventure, it's alright, it's not really bad, but it's quite, like I said, it's quite loose, and it's not totally precise about it. So if it was any more worse, let's say, then it really would make for, I don't think I'll be able to play it, but it ain't as bad as other games that I've come across. You get all these different poses as well, and to select those poses, just press down and then it scrolls through the different poses. You've got like a whirlwind, which is a bit like Tasmania, where you can just knock out all the enemies and whiz through a level, which is pretty good, but it doesn't last long. You've got this one that makes you puff yourself up into like a balloon so you can float through the level, but that one's quite dangerous because you could just come down and land on the level or in a pit of spikes or what have you. And you've got another one where it's like a a top hat appears, and you can use that will knock out enemies as it walks along, but you can also jump on it and to reach platforms that you wouldn't normally be able to reach. There's all these things you have to collect as well. Obviously some of them will be the special power-ups or what have you, but these other little things, I don't quite know what they are. I'm assuming because your main like weapon is to shoot these little stars or whatever you want to call them, and I think that's what they're meant to be, because I'm sure I run out of them at one point when I wasn't collecting them. So I think that's what they're for. You collect them so you can shoot them at the enemy. I find it's probably more easier to try and jump on top of the enemies, but you have to watch with that, because some games where you jump on enemies, you jump on them and you just keep jumping on them in the same spot, the enemies won't move. But in this game, as you're jumping on them, the enemies are still moving along, so you kind of have to jump with their movement, which that also makes it quite hard, because if you mistime it, then obviously you're gonna clash with the enemy and lose a bit of your life, so that makes it hard. What else can I say about the game, really? Oh yeah, the graphics are gorgeous in this game. Obviously it's an AGA game. I mean, you should be able to tell that just by looking at it. This is probably one of them, well, I'll say one of. There's only 2 games that I've come across AGA wise that really show off that they're AGA games, and that's Simon the Sorcerer and this game. Basically, Simon the Sorcerer and this game are the most colourful games that I've ever come across. And one of the good things about AGA is that you could just put so many more like colours on screen, and in Simon the Sorcerer it's just like Technicolor really. Same with this game, it's just really gorgeous to look at, really bright colours and everything. So this is probably one of the best, and I'm not saying it's the best, but it's one of the best graphically. Definitely one of the standouts of AGA graphics on the Amiga, I'd say. So yeah, that's Tin Toy Adventure. Quite a brilliant game. Very difficult. I'd totally recommend tracking it down and playing on it, but to be honest, I wouldn't recommend using a cheat, because like I said, the level select cheat's also an invincibility cheat in it, and while the level select is pretty decent, because you get to see later games that you might not get to see because this game is so hard, because you get the invincibility automatically. That's just going to suck all the enjoyment out of the game, because the enjoyment comes from the reward of knowing that you've overcome that difficulty and got to the next level. So yeah, that's Tin Toy Adventure. Brilliant game, brilliant Amiga game. Thanks guys.